QuickBooks Online 2021. Vertical analysis, profit and loss, P&L, or income statement. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online 2021. Here we are in our free QuickBooks Online practice file, which you can find by searching in your favorite browser for QuickBooks Online Test Drive or in the Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. We're going to go down to the reports down below, modifying another P&L, profit and loss income statement. So we'll open up the good old P&L, profit and loss income statement. Let's duplicate the tab up top. Going to go up top, right click on the tab and duplicate it. So we're going to duplicate the tab. Going to close up the hamburger, and then we're going to change the date range up top. So we're going to have a range change. Range change is going to be 01/01/20 for the date range. Let's go ahead and run that report. Now, last time we took a look at a comparative income statement, comparing one period to another period, and then we can do a horizontal kind of comparison, comparing one column to another column in a horizontal kind of fashion, row to row. This time we're going to do a vertical type of analysis, comparing something to the income statement itself on the same line item in the same column. We did this on the balance sheet. When you see it on the balance sheet, for example, we compared each line item of assets to the total assets, which you can imagine in like a pie chart type of format, similar to what you might see in like an investment portfolio type of analysis. On the income statement, it's a little bit different because we're going to be comparing to not the total down below, because it's a subtraction thing here. It's a subtraction problem, revenue minus expenses. We're going to compare everything to what we're trying to do in the income statement, and that is generate revenue. So we're going to compare everything basically to income in our vertical analysis type of calculation. So we're going to hit the drop down up top in this item. We want to compare everything to income, percentage of income. We want to see everything as a percentage of income. We'll run that report, and so now we have our percentages on the right-hand side. So what this means then, let's pull out the trusty calculator again. Trusty calculator. We're comparing everything to the total income line, and you can see that because, of course, the total income line is where the 100% is. Just like when we did the balance sheet, the 100% was at total assets, because we compared total assets to total assets, and it became 100%. So total income, 10,200.77 divided by 10,200.77 is 100%. If we compare everything else to it, then we're going to say like this line item, 2250 divided by, then we're picking up this one, 10,200.77. Move the decimal 2 places over, we get that 22.06 about. So that's going to be the income, the percentage of income line items, so we can compare that to the total income, and that could be useful. And then down below, when we compare the expenses, we're not comparing expenses to total expenses, but also to what the expenses are used for. We're comparing the expenses to income, and this is quite common. So we're going to be saying then, for example, the cost of goods sold, 405, divided by the income, 10,200.77, and that's going to give us our 3.97 about. Now, obviously, cost of goods sold, if we were talking about a retail store or something like that, would be much higher oftentimes, and it's going to be a really key number here because it's a little bit unusual circumstance with the landscaping. It's not as high as a number that you would see in other kind of companies that have inventory. And then we could do a similar comparison with all of our expense accounts. And these are basically, comparing the consumption. We used these expenses in order to generate revenue in the same time period. That's why it's going to be a relevant comparison. And then you could do things like seeing, obviously your larger comparison line items and thinking about whether it's worthwhile for those expenses or not. Also, of course, this type of comparison will work well if you're benchmarking to somebody else again. So if you're benchmarking to another company, most likely one that's larger than you are, because you're trying to mirror them, you're looking up to them, you're trying to benchmark to them, then their dollar amounts are going to be higher than yours most likely. You can't really compare your dollars amount. You're going to be saying, my income's terrible compared to their income. My net income's not lining up. But you can then look at your percentages and say, well, am I spending, in the same kind of ratio, the same format as they are in relation to income? And that could give you some information to improve upon. So you could look then at this column, the percentages actually, and compare that to a similar kind of calculation on a larger company, and that'll give you more relevant information oftentimes that you can actually take action upon. So that's going to be this one. Let's go ahead and do our normal kind of changes now, and then we'll save this thing. So I want to change the name. I'm going to call it an income statement again, just to do that change. I'm going to call it a vertical analysis income statement. Let's get rid of we'll keep the date here, and then we'll do our similar things with the negative numbers and that stuff. So I'm going to say, let's customize this report. Going to customize it. We're going to get rid of the pennies. Going to make the negative numbers bracketed as we've seen in the past. Make them red as well. On the header and footer, we're going to go to the header. I'm going to change it from a profit and loss to let's say vertical analysis income statement. And note that I spelled these two things incorrectly on purpose to show you that you do have the spell check option in here. So at the risk of looking like I don't know how to spell, I did that on purpose just to show you that feature. And then we're going to go down and we're going to remove the footer for the date prepared, time prepared, and report basis. So that we have that. That looks good. And then I'm going to run that report. So I'm going to hold control and zoom in a little bit, bring it up to 125. I kind of wish I had it there the whole time, but I didn't. So it's there now. So there we have our dates up top. We've got the negative numbers are bracketed. So there we have that. Looks very nice. The footer has been removed. Let's go ahead and save this as a PDF file, export it to Excel, and then add it to our group of Excel worksheets here so we can save it to one single PDF file. So I'm going to go to our exporting option here, export it as a PDF file, going to save it, and then it's going to pop up down here because we're in Google Chrome. And so I'm going to minimize this so we can do the good old dragging and dropping. And we get to say drag and drop multiple times. We're going to open this up. We want it in our financial statements. Then we're going to drag that, left clicking on it, drag it, and then drop it. Dragging and dropping. And then I'm going to right click on it and just rename it. Right click and rename. Put the date up top, 2012-3-1. And then I lost the name. When I do that, sometimes I'll just delete the whole thing. So it can't save it, and then I'll do it again. Right click, rename, and then I'm going to say it's going to be 20.12.31, and then vertical analysis income statement. Perfect. Perfecto mundo, just like Mundo would do it. It's perfecto. So I'm going to close this back up. And then I'm going to save it as an Excel. Let's export it as an Excel file as well. We want Excel as well. So then we got our other Excel file we had here. I'm going to open up this one. I'm going to make a new tab. I'm just going to make a new tab right there. And that's where I want to save this data. It's because we want it in Excel as well. So I'm going to open up the Excel document or sheet, workbook that we have, the new one. And then I'm going to enable editing. Enabling editing enables me to edit the worksheet. I'm going to save the whole worksheet. I'm going to put my cursor on the triangle to get the whole worksheet. Right click on it and then copy the entire worksheet and then go back into my other worksheet and then put it in A1. It's got to be in A1 or you got to select the whole sheet and then right click and paste it. And then I'm going to see if it fits on one page by going to the page layout view. It fits on one page wide. That's all I care about. It's more than one page long. Doesn't concern me whatsoever. And then I'm going to change the name down here from sheet. I'm going to double click on the sheet and we're going to call this Vert Anal Income Statement for the abbreviation. And then let's print this entire thing to a PDF so we have all these forms on one PDF document that we can attach to an email if we so choose or choose so. And so then let's go to print and we're going to use our cute PDF printer once again to do it. So we have to have some kind of PDF printer. I've got a cute one. And then we're going to go to the drop down here and we're going to say this is, we want to print the entire workbook, which is now 13 pages. I'll scroll through it just so you can admire it. We can admire it together. So there, and there's the vertical analysis. So there it is. Let's go ahead and print it. It's going to ask us to save it as save it somewhere. And so I'm going to overwrite this financial statement file, double clicking on it. Let's go ahead and overwrite that. I'm going to save this one. I'm not going to close it this time. I'm going to close this one. I don't need that one. And then If I go back in here, we can zip this file. I'm going to make these big icons. Not super large, not extra, but just large. And so then we can zip this file and attach it. We got a lot of files now. We could send an Excel document if we want, but then we made this PDF file from the Excel document. We can further format it if we want to make it look a little bit different here as well. But you have that option. Let's scroll through it again so we can admire it again. It is something worthy of admiration and admiring. Take it in the beauty. It's full of wonder, otherwise known as wonderful. And there's our vertical analysis income statement.